Who was our 35th president? He was a man of great faith and a loving man to not just his family, but the citizens of the United States. John F. Kennedy rose to the occasion for his life and changed the very fabric of the United States. President Kennedy tends to be one of the most discussed presidents of the United States. This is to share his early life, political career, and the assassination, and how he's an inspiration to everyone, especially me. John Kennedy was born May 29, 1917, in Brookline, Massachusetts, Joseph F. Kennedy and Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy. Born the second oldest sibling in his family, born extremely ill with illnesses as whooping cough, measles, and chickenpox, and eventually scarlet fever, which is life-threatening. Eventually getting better at one point in his life, his family used to joke about the great risk a mosquito took in biting him. With some of his blood, the mosquito was almost surely to die. By the time JFK was 8, there were 7 siblings altogether. JFK went to 2 colleges throughout his life. One was Choate, and the other was Harvard, where the competition continued with the 2 older brothers. Joe Kennedy Jr., whenever the 2 brothers would compete, it would always be the oldest brother, Joe, who would win, with small John getting hurt. On one occasion, John decided to play football at Harvard, even though he wasn't as athletic as his older brother. In one such game, he ruptured a disc in his spine, something that would continue to plague him for his entire life. One thing the brothers agreed on was politics, and a love for them. But the older brother, Joe, was always groomed up to become the first Catholic president. Then there was Jack, who was less ambitious and an average student at Harvard. While Jack was a senior at Harvard, he wrote a paper on why Britain was unprepared for the war and journey called Why England Slept. After both brothers graduated from Harvard, both joined the United States Navy. Joe became a flyer, while Jack was sent to the South Pacific, to PT-109. On the night of August 2nd, 1943, a Japanese destroyer sank PT-109. Jack led his men to a small island, several miles away. Even though Jack himself was hurt, he saved the man by holding him from the man's life jacket in his teeth, and swimming both to safety. Forward 6 days, natives found John and delivered a message to America that John carved in his coconut shell. Sadly, a year later, his older brother Joe died in a mission to Europe. After the war, Jack was deciding what his career would be. He considered becoming a teacher or a writer, but with the death of his brother, his dad convinced him to go into politics, where he would run for Congress of Massachusetts and win in 1946. In 1952, he was elected to the U.S. Senate, and soon after being elected, he married Jacqueline Bouvier. During this time, he wrote a book, Profiles in Courage, which won a Pulitzer Prize in 1957, the same year his first child, Caroline, was born. John Kennedy eventually decided he wanted to run for President of the United States. On July 13th, he was nominated for the Democratic Party candidate. He went on to defeat Richard Nixon in a very close race. Kennedy was not only the first Catholic president, but the youngest one as well. Before his inauguration, his second child, John Jr., was born. Our 35th president, John F. Kennedy, was sworn in January 20th, 1961. In his inaugural speech, he told the need for active Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. JFK was officially president in the United States. Kennedy changed the fabric of the United States, dealing with problems such as Cold War, creation of the Peace Corps, exploring space, where he told the citizens of the United States, we choose to go to the moon, we choose to go to the moon in a decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Kennedy also fought with segregation. Sadly, 5 days in November 1963 would be JFK's last. On November 21st, President Kennedy landed in Texas, began his command for the next election. The next day, driving through Dallas, shots rang out and the President of the United States was dead. Kennedy was a great man, and growing up and hearing stories of JFK has changed not just my life, but many Americans. That anyone who tries to do something can succeed at something. Even though JFK died nearly 50 years before I was born, he taught me what respect and how to hold yourself in public view. Do not pray for easy lives, pray to be stronger men, JFK. We can do well in this country. We will have difficult times. We've had difficult times in the past. We will have difficult times in the future. It is not the end of violence. It's not the end of lawlessness. It is not the end of disorder. Robert F. Kennedy.